Reasons for studying medical history. In studying traditional medicine, knowing its history is not a choice, but a necessity, as history allows for a deeper understanding of the concepts of traditional medicine. Unlike modern Western medicine, which might exist independently of its historical context, traditional medicine cannot be fully understood without delving into its historical roots. Traditional medicine is a field where the theories of schools from 2,000 years ago, the ideas of scholars from 500 years ago, and the practices of modern-day acupuncturists coexist and are actively applied. Explaining these diverse perspectives without understanding the historical and philosophical backgrounds of each era is simply impossible. The history of traditional medicine is not just about acquiring historical knowledge. It plays a crucial role in helping you become more effective clinicians. When I teach both American students and Chinese, Korean, or Japanese students in the United States, there is one area where American students often struggle to catch up with their Asian peers: history and philosophy. At first, it may seem like everyone is on the same level, but as the studies deepen, the ability, or inability, to understand the historical and philosophical context becomes a significant differentiator. This is entirely natural. If I were studying Shakespeare instead of traditional Chinese medicine, my understanding of British traditions, history, and the societal context of the time would ultimately create a significant gap in my comprehension. Whether you are an English-speaking American or an Asian, from the Hanzi cultural sphere, understanding history will undoubtedly deepen your knowledge of traditional medicine. Keep this in mind as you continue your studies.
Understanding the identity of AHM through history. How do we define acupuncture and herbal medicine? Is it acupuncture and herbal medicine just because we use acupuncture and herbal medicine? If a doctor uses licorice or cinnamon twig with a Western medical concept, is that still acupuncture and herbal medicine? Understanding the identity of a person, ethnicity, or profession is very difficult, and defining what acupuncture and herbal medicine is also a very challenging question. This identity of AHM determines our scope of practice. It defines the areas we need to study and facilitates interdisciplinary research. To understand who we are, what's the first thing we need to do? Knowing our birthplace, our parents, and what goals we've pursued, knowing our personal history is the first step. Similarly, the fundamental process to understand what AHM is involves studying its history. Through this history class, I hope you'll contemplate the academic and professional aspects of the AHM you're studying. Gaining objective perspective about AHM Nidhi. Knowing how AHM has changed over history is hard to accept. Realizing that what was believed to be an absolute truth has changed over time can be quite frustrating. I remember feeling confused when I discovered that the acupuncture points I had memorized varied by era. What then is the correct acupuncture point? I often tell my students, science is science because it can be wrong. Being wrong is both the right and duty of a scientist. Insofar as a scientific statement speaks about reality, it must be falsifiable, and insofar as it is not falsifiable, it does not speak about reality. Karl R. Popper, The Logic of Scientific Discovery. The development of acupuncture and herbal medicine, like other medical fields, has progressed through numerous verifications by experience. In other words, it's crucial to understand that the acupuncture and herbal medicine we're learning now can change at any time. History will demonstrate how dynamically acupuncture and herbal medicine has evolved. Just as Einstein's theory of relativity didn't negate Newton's classical physics, but rather made physics more complete, acupuncture and herbal medicine has been continuously refined throughout history. It has been challenged, modified, and developed by numerous scholars across different historical periods. Preparing for the future through the past. Ironically, the biggest reason for studying the past is to prepare for the future. Some people learn from the past and avoid repeating mistakes, while others forget the past and repeat the same mistakes. For the former, mistakes become assets. For the latter, mistakes are simply losses that should not have occurred. Repeated losses are an even bigger problem. Humanity has made numerous mistakes in the history of medicine. Medical advancement has been often hindered or even regressed for political reasons. No one knows how AHM will change and develop in the future. However, by studying medical history, we can avoid making the same mistakes. For instance, Korean AHM was hindered by Confucianism, which denied empirical and practical aspect of AHM, causing a regression in anatomy. Qin Shi Huang burned all historical records to prevent multiple ideologies from coexisting, aiming to unify a large China. Mao Zedong dressed AHM in Western scientific clothing to create a great Chinese medicine politically. Evaluating the results and whether they were positive is up to history, and through this, we can build a better future. We cannot create a better future for AHM without understanding its past. Understanding the diversity of AHM across China, Japan, Korea, and beyond. The definition of acupuncture and herbal medicine varies significantly. Traditional doctors from China, Korea, and Japan each have their own schools and slightly different perspectives on AHM. The only way to truly understand each other is through historical study. By examining the past, we can comprehend why certain changes occurred, whether they were political, social, or influenced by natural disasters. This historical approach allows us to know each other better, integrate our knowledge, and develop together. Without understanding history, one risks the foolishness of thinking that the AHM learned in one tradition is the entire world, like a frog in a well, believing its limited view represents the whole universe. As the Japanese historian Miki Sake emphasized, we could not understand Japanese and Chinese medicine without knowing Korean medicine. This principle extends beyond these three countries. It applies equally when attempting to understand traditional medicine from Thailand, Vietnam, Tibet, or Mongolia. These medical traditions were not developed in isolation but through complex networks of cultural and intellectual exchange. Each tradition influences and is influenced by others, creating a rich, interconnected tapestry of healing knowledge that transcends national boundaries. East and West. In the history class, we compare and study the history of medicine in the East and West, centered on events or time. When studying history, we shouldn't accept parts that are politically advantageous to us, and deliberately close our eyes to parts that are not. Unconditionally praising only acupuncture and herbal medicine as superior is not the correct attitude for learning history. We can view AHM more closely to the truth by comparing it with the history of Western medicine. I like the cliché expression of history as time travel. Just as we objectify ourselves spatially through travel, we can objectify ourselves temporally through history. Through the medical history class, we'll objectively recognize AHM by comparing it vertically and by comparing it horizontally. The term Eastern medicine cannot exist without Western medicine, and the term traditional medicine cannot exist without modern medicine. Traditional Oriental medicine can only be properly viewed through comparison with Western medicine and modern medicine.